What's going on, guys? Justin Fuller, ex-Honda salesman, tech lover, today your host, and we're reviewing the 2026 Honda HR-V. We're going to see how it stacks up against other makes and models in 8 different segments. So things like cargo space, or touchscreens, or front row or back row leg space are important to you. You'll know which vehicle to buy. Alright guys, so underneath the hood of the 2026 Honda HR-V, you're going to find a 2-liter engine. This is putting out approximately 158 horsepower, pushed into a CVT transmission, and then out to either 2-wheel or all-wheel drive, depending on the trim and model that you pick. If you're looking for top performance, you're probably going to want to look something like a Mazda CX-30, where I believe you can get up to about 191 horsepower. It's just something to keep in mind if you're comparing this to other makes and models out there in the world. So there's 2 reasons I'm down here on the ground right now, and the first is to talk about the 18-inch alloy wheel that comes on the 2026 Honda HR-V Sport. So I wanted you to get a good glance at that as it stacks up compared to the red. I think it's a nice look to it. So this vehicle gets 26 in the city and 32 on the highway if you're looking at a 2-wheel drive model. Now, if you drop down to an all-wheel drive model, you get 25 in the city and 30 on the highway. So understand there is a difference there depending on 2-wheel versus all-wheel drive. But I wanted you to see how this stacks up against other makes and models out there in the world. I want to say the Toyota Corolla Cross is probably going to be the winner on this one if you're searching for something with good gas mileage, unless you want to move over to an electric or a hybrid vehicle. Now, if you're shopping smaller SUVs, chances are cargo space is going to be important to you. So let's talk about that for a second. So I want to pull you on in here and point out a couple things. Back here to the second row, you've got 24.4 cubic feet of cargo space in the back of the vehicle. It's actually pretty usable. If you need to throw some bags back there, if you're an active person, you've got a good amount of space to work with. Now, underneath here, this is where you're going to find your spare, your jack, and all your accessories. So if I flip this guy up, you'll see the car does actually come with a spare. I want you to know what this funnel is. If you ever ran out of gas, this actually plays a role. If you come over here and pop this open, which these are connected to the door locks, understand there's a valve here. So if you need to be able to pour gas into the vehicle and you weren't actually at a gas station, you need a way to be able to hold this open. That's the function of this funnel, so that you can pour gas down into it, because if not, that valve is going to shut. Now, to take this one step further, there's something else I want to point out. There's actually a panel back here that covers this. I just popped it out, and how I did that was I actually used my key. If you didn't know, there's a little button here you can press and pop out a key, right? This is essentially your valet key now. It allows me to pop that open. Back here, you're going to see this little yellow cord. If that gas door ever gets stuck, you can pull this to help pop it open. But while we're back here, I want you to see how the 24.4 cubic feet of cargo space in the back of this thing stacks against other makes and models out there in the world. So go ahead and take a look at that. I want to say if you're looking for a little bit more space, you can squeeze an extra foot out if you moved over to the Hyundai Kona. So if you flip the second row down, you now have 55.1 cubic feet of cargo space in the back of this vehicle. It's actually pretty usable, and what I really like about this is it's actually exceptionally flat. So if you needed to camp in your car and you're a smaller person, could you sleep in here? You might need to go diagonal, but you could absolutely do it. But it's usable space, right? It's not this huge hump and then it goes up like you would see in other vehicles. While we're here, though, I want to throw comparisons so you can see how does this stack up against other makes and models out there in the world. I want to say the Hyundai Kona snuck this one out and gave you a couple extra feet. So if that's what you're looking for is the most cargo space, that might be the vehicle for you. All right, guys, so let's talk about second row leg space. In the back of this vehicle, you've got 37.7 inches of leg space. It's actually leading the pack. So when you get back here, if I'm sitting behind a 6-footer, I'm 6 foot 250, I've still got space for me to be able to fit back here comfortably. But I want you to see what it looks like when this vehicle stacks against other makes and models out there in the world. All right, guys, so when it comes to the front row as far as leg space, you've got 41.9 inches of leg space. Actually very usable, right? So once again, I'm 6 foot 250. I can fit in this thing with plenty of space, right? I've got tons of room for my legs. So as far as being comfortable, if you're a bigger guy, bigger gal, shouldn't be an issue. Now, if you're looking for the absolute most, I think you want to switch over to the Crosstrek, because you are going to squeak out a couple extra inches there, so just something to keep in mind. You've got 7 inches of ground clearance on this vehicle. Now, if you're going to take this thing off-roading, I probably wouldn't recommend the Sport for the 18-inch alloy wheel. Probably go something a little bit smaller, get you more rubber, right? But understand, if you need to do some basics with this vehicle, go off-road, do some basic camping, you could absolutely do it. However, if you're looking for additional space to get off-road and be a little bit more rugged, I'd probably look at the Crosstrek. Now, quickly, I want to point out 2 different things when it comes to the front of the vehicle. The first is the steering wheel. It's not overbearing. You don't have a ton of buttons here, so it's pretty easy to use. You've got a home button, you've got a scroller, right? Your volume control and jumping between tracks, and then your voice command. When you move over to the other side, this is where you're going to find some of those Honda sensing safety features. The first is your lane keep assist. That's going to be this button right here. When you press this button, you're going to see this same indicator appear in the mirror. What it's using is a camera up on the rearview mirror to detect lines out on the road. So if you start to shift to the left or the right in the vehicle and drift out of your lane, it can actually correct for you and steer you back into your lane. So this way you don't accidentally get distracted and drift into the car next to you. Now, the second feature that I want to talk about is adaptive cruise control. So when you get up to the speed you want, you're going to go ahead and select this button, and you're going to see the same indicator come on up at the screen. From there, you can then select the distance it keeps between you and the car in front of you, which you can see in the center here, using the boxes. So what it's using is radar in the front of the grille to bounce it off the car in front of you. So if the car in front of you is going 60 and they slow down to 55, it can actually slow down your car and keep that designated space that you're picking with this button. I want to talk to you about some safety features that I've scrolled over to here. Now, if you go to the home button, right, you can jump in here and then you're going to select safety support, and we want to scroll down and talk about these. The first is road departure mitigation. Much like lane keep assist, if it's looking like you're going to start to drift off the side of the road, it can give you an audible alert and actually vibrate the wheel to say, hey, wake up, pay attention, you're drifting off the road. The second feature here is going to be your blind spot information system. I think we're all pretty familiar with how that works. There's a blind spot logo that appears in the mirror. It lights up orange. If somebody's in your blind spot, if you start to get over that your mirror, it'll give you an audible alert to let you know, hey, someone is there. The next feature is going to be collision mitigation braking, which I spoke about earlier. It's looking like you're going to rear end another car. You're closing that distance really quick. It can flash in the dash, give you an audible alert, and then actually apply the brakes to help prevent the accident. These features are standard in Hondas. Understand this is part of what you're buying. This is what's protecting you. New to the 2026 Honda HR-V, you're going to find this 9-inch touchscreen living in all of the vehicles now. So regardless of the trim you pick, whether it's the base model or all the way up to the top of the line, you're going to get this. Along with that, you're going to also receive wireless CarPlay and Android Auto. Now, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay are pretty cool, but there are times when you wish that you could come in, hop onto Netflix, maybe watch a long show if you were taking a long drive, right? Or maybe you're thinking, hey man, there's a game on, it'd be really cool if I could jump into YouTube TV and be able to watch a game that was playing. I'm able to do a lot of things that Apple CarPlay and Android Auto aren't able to do. I can get to the Play Store and download any app I want. And for some of the apps that do exist in Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, I can get the full version of the app. So if I want to run a search, I don't have to use the voice command. I don't have to count on it to do things for me. It gives me the ability to just type it in, right? If I go into an artist, it'll then provide me with their top hits, their discography, everything, right? So it's the full version of Spotify versus the limited version that you get using Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Now, how am I able to do this? What I'm using is this box right here. This is the CPC 200T box. Essentially what you do is you plug it in where you would plug in like for CarPlay or Android Auto. You provide it data, which I'm using my hotspot for my phone, or you could get a SIM card for it if you wanted to, and then you connect up. So it's through CarLink Kit. I like it. Their software works really well. You can update everything so you can keep your apps up to date, and it's just easy to use. So if being able to access things like Netflix, Kodi, Amazon Prime, Disney, Hulu, you name it, whatever app you want on your vehicle is important to you, something like this might be worth it. Hopefully some of the tips and tricks and of course some of the comparisons help you decide if the Honda HR-V is the vehicle for you. Does it win every category? Absolutely not. I would say that in the categories that it doesn't do that great in are typically going to be the 158 horsepower under the hood. It's okay, but it's just that. It's okay. If you're a normal person who just needs to get around town and commute, it's fine. Now, as far as leg space, it's great. It does really well in the back row, really well in the front row. As far as cargo spaces, I want to say it lands in the middle of the pack. It's easily usable, right? If you like the way this vehicle looks and you can live with those things, I think it's a really great car. So if you're looking for something that sits a little bit off the ground, is going to get you good leg space for both the front and the back and give you some cargo space that you can take advantage of and get decent MPGs while you're doing it, Honda HR-V is a great car. So last thing I'd like to ask is a couple favors: like, comment, subscribe, and of course share the video if you got friends that are shopping for a small SUV or specifically a Honda HR-V. Let's get out!